in a body bag. Mr. Speaker, if you read the story of Endarasha, it is a horror story. This is one of those things that if our committees were properly resourced, the first business would have been for the relevant committee, be it education or security, to go to Endarasha, to go there and establish the facts. We cannot trust the government to tell the story. We cannot trust the executive to tell the story. And that is why Parliament exists, such that if there is something that has happened in this nation, and Kenyans are very skeptical of the account that the National Executive provides, Mr. Speaker, I want to encourage the relevant committee. If all of us cannot go to Endarasha, we must go there. We must establish the facts. We must assure the parents that it is safe to reopen the school. Mr. Speaker, a school where 21 children have been roasted to death, you can imagine the kind of trauma that will visit the other children if they are forced to go back to that school. And why would parents be forced to send their children back to that school? Because they are paid fees for the entire year, and they don't have an option to transfer their children. Mr. Speaker, we need to be empathetic, and Endarasha Hillside Academy summarizes the state of education in this country, that it doesn't matter, children can die as long as you don't touch the mountain. It doesn't matter, children can die as long as you don't destabilize the politics. A country that does not put children at the center of its policy and its politics is a country that is dead. Mr. Speaker, this morning, the CS for Labor brought here a redacted summary of Kenyans who have acquired jobs in the recent job-seeking spree that the president has been on. Out of that entire schedule, Mr. Speaker, 60% had secured jobs as housemates. Housemates. We are exporting housemates. We are manufacturing housemates. Mr. Speaker, what kind of education system is that? South Africa, the education system has produced and exported Elon Musk. He's now the richest man in the world. The Indian education system has produced and exported executives of tech companies globally. Kenya has produced and exported housemaids to Saudi Arabia and Qatar. It is a big shame. That is the state of education in this country. Mr. Speaker, I believe that if there is a crisis that we need to deal with today, it is the education crisis that is manifested in strikes at all levels, from primary to secondary to universities. A university funding model that does not make sense, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I conclude on the issue of the state of healthcare, as raised by Senator Mwaruma. Senator Mwaruma, some of these strikes by our doctors, they relate to delays in exchequer releases. But sometimes, the county governments deduct money from staff and they do not remit. Mr. Speaker, if you allow me just 1 minute to inform Senator Sifuna, who was very hard on CS Mbadi earlier in the morning. It is unfortunate I was not here to provide that information at that point. Mr. Speaker, CS Mbadi, after meeting the president, had an appointment with his tailor. Yesterday, there was a national outcry about the state of his suits and that he had cut his suits, the cloth too big for his size. And Mr. Speaker, if you all observe, CS Mbadi looks emaciated, he looks stressed, he looks fatigued. Mr. Speaker, we should all pray for CS Mbadi so that his suits can fit him again. We donated him when he was in good health. We donated him when his suits could fit him. In only 2 weeks, Mr. Speaker, CS Mbadi, yes, the suits cannot fit because of the state of the economy.
Senator Gloria, what is your
Please give us back our Mbadi.
Mr. Speaker, I am an amateur at this house. My point of order is on 101. And I have been learning through these senators on how to conduct myself in this house, a house of procedure, a house of rules, a house of mature people, Mr. Speaker. It is very saddening. 101, kindly refer to your standing order 101.
Proceed.
Mr. Speaker, let me...
Execute your point of
yes,
order.
Mr.
Don't
Speaker, it is
your
very
point.
sad when some of us, young people, come here and we observe these other senators breaking the rules, acting misleading, acting very immature, Mr. Speaker, to come to the point of coming to discuss a cabinet secretary's dress code, a man discussing the dress code of another man in chambers, Mr. Speaker. It is shocking, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I want to also say, just allow me to conclude by saying, I wish had Senator had Senator Kajwanga, if he stood up to tell us that now, after his very extensive point of who we are exporting, Mr. Speaker, and by the way, housemaids are not, kazi ni kazi, Mr. Speaker. All jobs are dignified. I wish that this senator stood and said that the cabinet secretary was busy working and creating more jobs of engineers also, but he has come to discuss the dress code of another man, Mr. Speaker. We need to, first of all, investigate the intention and the interest of Senator Kajwanga to discuss and looking at other men and discussing their dress code, Mr. Speaker.
That's good enough.
Mr. Speaker, it is very strange. As a woman, it is very strange that I come here. He should apologize. As women, we are not complaining. As women who are looking at this cabinet secretary and his dress code, we are not complaining. What is Senator Kajwanga looking for in the dress code of our cabinet secretary, Mr. Speaker? He must withdraw and apologize. Withdraw, and that is a dignified cabinet.
You know, when the chair talks to you, Senator Gloria, you should just listen and pause. And you did the cracks in front of me. When I call, a chair calls a member, you should just switch off the mic so that they can listen to the message that I want to convey. Next is Senator Chalege.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to comment on two issues. One,
In 2 minutes. In
okay,
2 minutes,
just on two statements. I'm not going outside what is happening. Don't worry. Mr. Speaker, on the issue of state of education, I think I want to appeal to university students. While they're expressing reservations on the university funding model, Mr. Speaker, I think it is important that the technical committee has been appointed. I want to appeal to students from universities to present and propose the university funding model for review, Mr. Speaker. I think as a way out and solution, we should revert to initial funding model of university where all of us were able to access higher education's loan board across the country. Mr. Speaker, I condemn with the strongest terms possible the bludgeoning, the attack against students of Multimedia University yesterday by the police officers, Mr. Speaker. It was so embarrassing where we live in the country of rule of law. But I have law opinion because the acting Inspector General of Police, Bwana Masengeli, is a fugitive of justice. And that shows bad on the police. Mr. Speaker, I have been a victim of police brutality and harassment. I will not allow any other Kenyan to go through what I have undergone, Mr. Speaker. I was arrested naked on 14 April 2022 in my bed. Mr. Speaker, if I was at a certain age, Mr. Speaker, if I was at certain age, I would have cursed those police officers, Mr. Speaker. If I was beyond 80 in my culture, Mr. Speaker, when you see a person who's 80 years and above, I would have cursed, and Senator Lemonen would have understood, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on the issue of safety in schools, I want to pass my condolences, Mr. Speaker, to the Russia community, Mr. Speaker.
The three gracious ladies are just yelling because you are arrested naked. I don't know what they saw missing.
Mr. Speaker, would they want to see me naked? Can I table, they can see me in camera so that I can.
Give him 30 seconds to conclude.
Mr. Speaker, you know, Mr. Speaker, the gracious lady might have seen more machines than that they want to see mine. You know, some of our Kalenjin propellers are dangerous. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I want to pass my condolences.
Senator Chalege, what are you referring at? You ought to
No,
have
they
understood,
understood. If you see the excitement of
Which
Senator
language is
Karen,
that you are
he
using?
understands what a Kalenjin propeller is, Mr. Speaker. So, and on the issue of Russia Academy, Mr. Speaker, I want to pass my condolences to the family, friends, and the community of Nyeri, Murima, Mr. Speaker, for the loss of 21 students. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Education should give us a proper guidelines on how school safety should be handled. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Including the statement hour, maybe I want to give Senator Koiti Andrew and one more member from this side, then we conclude that.
Mr. Speaker, sir, thank you for the opportunity to address this House. I'll contribute to the statement on our schools. The missing link or the elephant in the room is the way in which school inspectorate or the school inspectors have been sidelined. They have no budgets, they are not operational. So even if we pass these beautiful laws and regulations, there's nobody to enforce them. So we need the education sector to go back to a system whereby they had a robust department of school inspectors who could go around the schools like Senator Gloria did when she went to her former school and found that the grills were not well fixed, so that they can. You didn't clarify that. You just said you went to your school and I don't know what. So we need the school inspectors to come back and begin enforcing these regulations that are passed and laws that are passed by this House to ensure the safety of our children. Also, apart from the school inspectors, we need to look at these private schools, and the public, the taxpayer must go back to funding and providing proper public education so that these private schools are not crowded. The idea that the government only collects taxes and provides no goods and services is anathema to the Republican nature of this state. Thank you.
This, but not the last, Senator Mutinda.
The mic, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. And I want to start by sincerely giving my very heartfelt, sincere condolences to the family and of the parents of Edarasha Primary School in Nyeri. But, Mr. Speaker, we have a tendency whereby we bring matters before this House. And what we do not address is the timeline for when these issues should be given feedbacks. It is a high time that the Committee of Education, that I believe will handle this matter, to fasten and speed up, because we await and then you find that other issues are still cropping up. It is a high time also the County Director of Education for Nyeri, where this school is, should by now have given also his statement or a report as to what really transpired. I want to thank our President, Dr. William, whom we saw the other day when he was in the County of Nyeri, actually just this last weekend. And he committed to ensuring that he's going to support the school coming back to its status. But as far as my colleague Senator Mtata has mentioned, the inspectorate team should be able to give a report. It's one thing when funds are there, but what are the kind of standards that need to be adhered so that our kids are safe? We entrust our kids actually in these institutions by the heads of these particular learning institutions. Learning institutions at some point in this country have become a commercial business, not adhering to the required standards of the Ministry of Education. The other day we were even concerned in Nairobi in the size of Githurai, where we have a primary school, one classroom with over 80 students, yet the regulations are very clear that the maximum number should be up to 45. Kids are squeezed in there. Yet the ministry is there, the people are being paid each and every month to ensure that they partake their roles, even if funds are not in place, but the person in charge should be able to ensure that in whatever time before the school.
Okay, that is that. So next on the clock.
Order number 8, the County Government's Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 39 of 2024, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to amend the County Governments Act to provide for inter-county transfers of county public officers, the establishment of the County Public Service Boards Consultative Forum, and for connected purposes.
Next order.
Order number 9, the Labor Migration and Management number 2 bill, Senate Bills number 42 of 2024. A bill for an act of parliament to provide for the first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to provide for the regulation of private employment agencies and the recruitment of workers within and outside Kenya, safeguard the rights and welfare of job seekers and migrant workers, and for connected purposes.
Next order.
Order number 10, motion, alteration of the Senate calendar for part 4 of the third session.
Senate Majority Leader, move the motion.
Mike, please. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move the motion on the alteration of the Senate calendar for part 4 of the third session, that notwithstanding the resolutions of the Senate made on the 15th of February 2024 on the approval of Senate calendar and 19th of August 2024, the alteration of the Senate calendar, pursuant to Standing Order number 32-4, the Senate resolves to further alter its calendar, regular sessions for the third session 2024 in respect to part 4 to 1, continue with regular sittings until Thursday, the 31st of October 2024.